Welcome to Bottom of the Sixth, Monday after the Super Bowl Monday, whatever you want to call it. It's the crew, Dylan Oliver, Benjamin Paris, and Blake Neiman getting you started. And what a game it was between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles ultimately becoming the victim of the loss of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Big Red Andy Reid era, in which he captured his second championship against his former team in which he was the head coach, and now is a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Obviously the storyline there with him being named Super Bowl MVP, and is now a three-time league MVP, two-time Super Bowl MVP, and two-time league MVP, and two-time Super Bowl MVP. So already a long list of accomplishments for him in his short tenure. And we were discussing with Dylan before the show, so I'll kick it to him to start and how he feels about now that we can kind of come to a consensus that Patrick Mahomes in just 6 seasons is already probably ahead of the great Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. As much as it pains me to say this, I mean, Mahomes is looking like one of the greatest players in the history of the NFL, and by the time he retires, I'm sure he absolutely could be known as the greatest player of all time. But I mean, for what he's done in such a short time frame, 5 seasons as a starter, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 regular season MVPs. I mean, it's really just kind of unheard of at this point. And Rodgers in his 18 seasons has gone to 1 Super Bowl. He has all the statistics, but those are just longevity awards. Overall, if you really look at it, it's a championship-driven league, and Mahomes has already accomplished basically more than what Aaron Rodgers has done in his entire career so far. So I think at this point in time, I'm kind of hopping on the Mahomes being greater than Rodgers recency bias whole thing, but it might be accurate at this point.
So Ben, I'll ask you, do you think Mahomes is already in that top 5 category?
I think not all time. I don't think all time yet, because he's only played for so many seasons, but I think if his career ended today, I think he'd already have a Hall of Fame resume.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you've won 2 Super Bowls, you've won a league MVP. He has a Hall of Fame resume. So all time, probably not. From a technical standpoint, it's probably in no specific order, but Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees is probably still top 5 all time, except I think Patrick Mahomes will end up being better than him.
Montana.
I was going to say Joe Montana and then maybe Brett Favre.
Brett Favre?
Maybe. The question, to answer the answer that people want to hear, he's going to end up being a top 5. He can end up being a top 2, maybe even a top 3. I said that backwards, but whatever. He's going to end up, but I want to see if he's actually hurt or not. That's what I care about right now. I want to know
with his ankle, how severe that actually is.
Yeah.
When playing through that second half, from what I saw, it didn't seem to be much of an issue until that final play, or near the final play of the game, where he busted out that run to keep the championship drive alive, and then he got tackled again, and you could see that he felt severe pain. So it is definitely a contact-driven injury, or so it seems. So it could just be an ankle sprain. I'm not going to speculate as to what it is, but I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on, definitely this off-season. But Ben, from an AFC West perspective and just an AFC perspective as a whole, what do teams in the AFC need to do to be able to compete with this high level of talent that is the Kansas City Chiefs?
There's not a lot you can do. We saw that with the Bills. They tried to do about everything that they could, the last couple seasons, and were barely able to do it once. So, from an AFC West perspective, you gotta get lucky, I guess. I mean, it's not like the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs are a team that will ever have an undefeated season or anything like that. I think it's really hard to do that in today's NFL. But think about what Sean Payton said. He wasn't gonna root for the Chiefs because you don't want anyone in your division to win anything. So if you beat them, that's really cool. But yeah, I think there's really not a lot you can do, especially if Mahomes and Kelsey are together. They don't really need much else help. And I just don't understand how Travis Kelce is just always open. It doesn't make sense how this guy is just continuously just so dominant. And I'm trying to find his stats from last night. But whatever they are, like, they're insane. Like, it should not be possible. Let's see. 81 yards, 6 receptions, and a touchdown. For a tight end, those are some pretty good numbers. So that's pretty insane.
I mean, I said it weeks and weeks ago. Mahomes and Kelce are the best quarterback, not receiver, but receiving duo there is in the entire league. Like, they just aren't stoppable. No matter what you do to them, you cannot prevent them from getting at least 5+ catches, close to maybe a touchdown, and like 75+ yards. It just does not matter. They always go crazy together. And now Kelce is now played in 17 postseason games and is now the second leading receiver in postseason history in the entire NFL as a tight end, which is just absurd. He's just behind Jerry Rice. So that really shows like the level of greatness Travis Kelce is on as a receiving threat in this league.
He's probably better than Gronk, which I hate saying because I love Gronk. I think he's better than Gronk. By the way, Gronk, future Denver Bronco. But I'm like, I think he's probably better than Gronk.
Yeah, I talked about this on my Screaming Demon show this morning about where Travis Kelce is standing all time. And he's still got a little bit of work to go because I don't think he's up with the Tony Gonzalez quite yet. So I think right now the top three, in terms of my opinion, I think Gronk still has the slight edge. He still has more championships, and him and Tom Brady's connection was really, really good. And I believe they still have the most Super Bowl touchdowns among and maybe playoff touchdowns among a quarterback and receiver duo. And so I think Rob Gronkowski still has the edge there, but Kelce is definitely coming. I'd say probably top three right now. It's Gonzalez, Gronkowski, and then Kelce for the top three.
I think by the end of it, but when it's all said and done, I see Kelce finishing as the greatest tight end of all time.
I could see that, and just like you can see Mahomes potentially being the greatest quarterback of all time.
Absolutely.
Because he's still very young on in his career. Already has. It's almost like a Tom Brady start because Tom Brady started with a dynasty with his career, won his first, then won a couple more, and we're seeing a similar trajectory with Patrick Mahomes. And Tom Brady had a 10-year drought where he didn't win a championship from 2004 to 2014. And so it's definitely, you can see that there can be definitely some more Super Bowls that he makes that he loses, but this one was a big one to win for sure, and I think this puts him ahead in a big way. But we were mentioning Travis Kelce.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
I think they're now one behind Brady and Gronk for most all-time playoff touchdowns.
Really?
They had 15. I think Kelce got his 14th last night. So that's pretty insane. They'll probably they'll probably break that record.
I think I remember seeing the graphic on the Fox broadcast. I think Kelce has, I believe, 16 now, and he's just trailing Jerry Rice for all-time postseason touchdowns. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's second in postseason touchdowns.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Also, Ben, how do we rate the Fox graphics last night?
Okay, so the shape to me was weird. It like I don't think there's anything wrong with like squares, rectangles, rhombuses, if you want to curve them off a little bit or slant the sides, I guess. The shapes were a little weird to me, but it didn't change a lot from Fox's previous graphics package. I didn't hate it. A lot of people hated it. It wasn't like super bad, but the shape to me was a little off.
I thought the motion was cool.
I thought it was better when NBC did the Super Bowl last year and then redid their score bug. It was better than that.
Yeah.
So it's better than NBC's. CBS doesn't change theirs a lot. It's like a very standard little graphic, and then ESPN's isn't bad either, but it's like the same as the college football one. It's not bad. I mean, Fox isn't bad. What I'm interested for, and this is looking way down the line, I was looking at the schedule for Super Bowl networks. It's not till 2027 when Joe Buck will call another Super Bowl on ABC.
It's crazy to me. It's just
but like
crazy
the
to
Super
me.
Bowl on ABC in 2027 should be pretty cool.
Yeah, that will be cool to see some other networks besides NBC and CBS and Fox being on the mix. And get some more Super Bowls back with some of those other networks. But we mentioned Travis Kelce, and he also played his brother Jason Kelce. You saw them embrace afterwards. Jason Kelce give a little smile and be like, "Oh, little brother got me this time." So that just got me to thinking of what are the best brother duos in the NFL all time.
I mean, I think you have to take the obvious one right off the board, the Manning brothers. 4 total Super Bowls combined between the two, 5 MVPs, thousands and thousands of passing yards, and a lot of passing touchdowns. Just the greatness between those two brothers for how long they did it, how many stats they put up, how many Super Bowls they won, MVPs, just all of that. You have to go with the Manning brothers as the greatest brother duo in NFL history.
I saw Peyton Manning last week.
Are you serious, Ben?
Yeah.
And Terrell Davis.
Yeah, and Ethan Schwager got a picture with Eli Manning. They were
I saw
both here
that.
this week, so that was cool. Mine is, this isn't the best. This is like a top 5 in my opinion. Dustin and Britton Colquitt, the punters.
Are you serious?
Electric punters, bro.
Yeah.
Think about the punting family. I think some other notable ones, obviously the Mannings, the Watts,
The Diggs?
Clay Matthews
bad.
and his brother. What about the Barbers? Tiki Barber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Barbers are solid for sure.
So there's some good ones.
You say the Bosas?
You didn't even mention the
Bosas were gonna
Bosas.
come next.
Bosas are crazy. Like
So-
Nick
Joey and
Bosa's
Nick.
a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa's better than Joey Bosa, obviously.
yeah.
But Nick Bosa's just an animal. Like,
Seriously.
that dude's insane.
He is the leading charge in that solid 49ers defense.
Yeah. Niners are going to be back strong next year with, I'm assuming, just as good of a defense. Even though D'Amico Ryans is gone, I think they just have so much talent on that defense that you can throw almost any defensive coordinator out there and be like, all right, just play with all these things we have over here. Just don't let them score 27, and we're probably going to win a game.
What about the McCourties? They were good.
They were good.
Jason and
They
Devin
were
McCourty.
They were.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah. So there's been some good NFL brother duos, but
Yeah.
Dylan, you brought up a good point with the 49ers, and so we talked about who's going to best challenge the Chiefs in the AFC, but who do you think is going to be the greatest challenger if it could be San Francisco to the Eagles in the NFC?
Of course, I'm going to choose Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. No, I'm kidding.
That's wild.
Next year,
Maybe.
I think we're talking about who's going to challenge the Eagles next
Yes.
year. San Francisco. I mean,
With a quarterback.
with a quarterback.
That's the only piece they were missing.
With a quarterback, I think they had a very good chance to win this NFC Championship game. They were on absolute fire down the back half of the season, winning 10 straight games going into the playoffs. And I mean, like, there's just so much talent on that team. And I could be mistaken, but I don't think many of those players are up for contract and going to be free agents. So, I mean, if they're bringing back the same core with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Kittle on the offense, then I think they're just going to be unbelievably dangerous. Depending on whether their quarterback's Trey Lance or Purdy, whoever it is, I think they're going to be another playoff contender and have a good shot at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, on the NFC side, I really only see the Eagles and the 49ers. The 3 seed was Minnesota, and I still don't think they were that good. Dallas is just going to be mid forever.
Dallas is Dallas.
They're just going to be mid forever. Tampa probably won't even make the playoffs next year. Like, they'll win maybe 9 football games.
Maybe. Like,
Yeah,
probably less than
maybe.
that.
I don't
like-
think they win even 9. I
So-
mean, they only won what?
I mean,
8
they
this year?
still have receivers. So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
you lose the GOAT, though.
That's true. So, I don't know. Like, they're not. I think the Broncos will win more football games than them.
I sure
Uh,
hope so, man.
And I think the Giants are going to get better
They're on the come up, yeah.
as the years go on. So, I think the Giants will have a better year. But, yeah, in terms of, like, teams that can contend to go to a Super Bowl, it's going to be Philadelphia and San Francisco for a few years, I think.
Yeah. Do you think, which league do you think has the better chance of being competitive? Probably the NFC more so than the AFC?
When competitive
Like, in terms of a new team possibly emerging?
AFC.
AFC.
Because I really think that, like, I think Cincinnati could beat Kansas City. I think Buffalo could beat Kansas City. Jacksonville did not play terribly bad against Kansas City. And look, like, I know I ride the Broncos a lot. I really think they're going to be a lot better next year. Like, I really do. Like, I'm not saying that Sean Payton's going to fix everything, but it's going to fix a lot of things. And I think, and I said this going in this year, and I'm going to say it again. I don't see the Chiefs beating the Broncos twice, and I don't see the Chiefs beating the Chargers twice.
Hasn't Mahomes never lost once to the Broncos his entire career?
Year, I really think the Broncos can win at least a game against Kansas City. I really do. I don't think the AFC West.
I think they're gonna have to do it at home.
I just hate it because it's like, yeah, I'm a Broncos fan. I am, but I really think that they're gonna split next year. I really do.
I think it's gonna have to be at home in Denver in the snow. One of those type of games.
Well, but also it's been the amount of years like growing up where they split, but Denver got the win in Kansas City.
Especially during the Peyton Manning era.
Yeah, it's wilder like Denver win in Kansas City than lose at home. I don't even care what happens. I really think the Broncos will like break that streak, win one of two. But yeah, I think that the AFC is so much fun to watch. I mean, Joe Burrow is just so much fun to watch.
I think
the Bills are fun to watch, yeah.
I think the AFC is far more competitive, but I think at the end of the day, I would be more confident saying the Chiefs will make the Super Bowl again than I would say the Eagles make the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
I just have so much faith in Mahomes, in Kelsey, and in Andy Reid to go back to the Super Bowl every single year that I think that they are my favorites again going into the next year, even though they have so much more competition than a team like the Eagles in the NFC. Because, I mean, AFC, like Ben was saying, there's the Bills, the Bengals, the Chargers even, perhaps.
Well, and to me, the Jaguars are going to get better as the years go on as well.
Too.
9-8, like, wasn't good, but they finished the season on a 5-game winning streak, the regular season. They're going to win 10, 11, maybe 12 games next year.
Whereas in the NFC, I still really only see the Eagles and Niners, but I feel like it could be so easily that the Niners go in, where I don't know. I just feel like I'm so confident in the Chiefs every year that I could see a new team coming in from the NFC, but the Chiefs still just owning the AFC like they do every single year now.
And they know how to win. And we talk about this across all sports where, you know, it's in the NFL you have one chance to win your big game. There's not a series like any other sport. And actually Peyton Manning was talking about that on Saturday, where these guys only have one chance to win, and you wonder if that comes to effect against the Eagles last night. Because obviously the Chiefs had been there, most of their roster, 2-3 times. So they know how to win. They know how to win big games, and when they get to the Super Bowl, they know how to handle those things. Nick Sirianni, I think, hated Super Bowl week. He was tired of talking to the media. I think a lot of the players were too. They just wanted to play the game. So I think that because of how close the game was, I don't think that was a huge factor in last night's game. But when we see it in other sports, we see it in the NBA, we see it in the NHL, where teams just don't know how to win in clutch time. They don't know how to win Game 6, Game 7 to close out a series. So I really do think that in terms of the NFC, I don't think San Francisco would have been the same thing. Like Brock Purdy, while winning football games, he didn't have that big moment.
Chiefs were winning this no matter which team they played.
Exactly. The Chiefs are going to win because, unfortunately,
they've been there.
Like it or not, Patrick Mahomes is kind of that guy. He loves those moments. He thrives in those moments. He's one of those special players where when it gets to that time, that's when he plays his best. Except what's interesting to me is that, like, historically, when you look at his now 3 Super Bowl performances, I don't think he really hasn't played super well. Last night was his best Super Bowl performance. While he threw 3 touchdowns, impressive, threw for less than 200 yards. So it's always kind of interesting that he doesn't play like super over-the-top amazing in Super Bowls, but he gets the job done, which is really all that matters.
All right, guys. Well, great insight on the Super Bowl and all of that. Real quick, before I move on to NBA and the trade deadline action that we saw, who's your Super Bowl pick to be in Vegas in 2024?
Next year's Super Bowl?
Yes.
Niners, Broncos.
Honestly,
just kidding.
I honestly would not be surprised if it's Chiefs Eagles again. I would not.
I don't think I'd watch the game.
I would not be surprised. Chiefs own the AFC, and other than the Niners, who's going to compete with the Eagles? If the game's in Philly again, I could absolutely see Philly winning that game and going on to face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again.
They play each other in the regular season next year, I think. I don't know where it is, but they play each other in the regular season, so that should be super fun because most of the rosters are staying together. I think that the biggest retirement that might come out of this game
was Andy Reid, but that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say probably Kelsey.
Jason or Travis?
Jason Kelsey. Travis Kelsey will be around for a few more years. I think Jason Kelsey is probably the most likely guy to retire, and respectfully, it's a center. You can replace a center easier than you can replace
the best center in the league, though?
You can replace a center easier than you can replace a skill position, to me.
It's true.
I feel like it's easier to replace Jason than Travis.
Yeah, because Travis is just he
Exactly.
brings a uniqueness in his role and just all that he's brought to the table.
Who's your Super Bowl pick, Blake?
Well, guys, I'm going to go against the Chiefs bandwagon, and I say Joe Burrow is going to come back with that grinder mentality, that chip on his shoulder, and I think this is one of the best rivalries in the modern era of the NFL, the Bengals versus the Chiefs. They are so evenly matched, and coming out of college, Joe Burrow getting drafted, I had nowhere near expectations. He was incredible in college, arguably the best college football team ever in that LSU 2019
I don't know how
team.
they got away with that. Like, they shouldn't have been that good.
They were incredibly good and had so much NFL talent that we're seeing in the NFL today. But I did not think he would take Cincinnati, how far he has taken them in short little time. And so he is my pick for the AFC. And then depending upon how well the 49ers figure out their quarterback situation, I'm going to lean more towards the Eagles going again just because they've had things figured out. But right now, as you're saying, I think it's clear-cut the top two contenders, not really even close, is the Niners and the Eagles in the NFC. But enough of football. It was a great NFL season. Lots of stuff to unpack in that, and we are now moving on into the NBA season and March Madness around the corner, of course, and we'll get all that stuff rolling on the next few shows. But recapping the trade deadline that happened this past week, obviously the huge Woj bomb on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, depending upon when you were awake.
Kevin Durant, Blake?
I was awake, unfortunately.
Wow.
But
Nice.
I did see the Woj bomb live. So Kevin Durant is a Phoenix Sun. He is in the Valley. Activate the Valley, as Kenny Dillingham would say. But it cost the Suns quite a bit of capital. They did give up their guy, Mikal Bridges, did not want to leave. They did give up Cam Johnson and 4 first-round picks, but was it worth it in the end, guys? I think you got to say yes, considering getting a top 5, possibly top 3 guy in the world.
Yep. Also, yep. I think the scoring option that Durant brings to them and just the all-around star power is going to be great for this team this season. In the long run, we'll see. But right now, you know you have a championship-level roster, and adding a player like Kevin Durant is just outstanding. And I think that they are by far the favorites in the West now after that trade.
All right, Ben, I want to know how you feel about this being the favorites in the West. How concerned are you with your Nuggets and Nikola Jokic with still being atop the West?
Concerned, not a lot. Excited is what I am. I still think the Nuggets will. I was going to say the Broncos. I still think the Nuggets are going to win the West and make the finals. But I don't think they're going to have as easy as a time. It's not going to be a cakewalk. I think the Nuggets are going to have a pretty easy time winning the West, to me, at least getting to the Western Conference Finals. Now they're going to have to battle for it a little bit. So that's exciting. You know, I think Jokic-Durant should be a really exciting matchup. I think if the things work out for the Nuggets the way they should, where they have their, big three, we talk about that a lot in the NBA now. You have Jamal Murray, you have Nikola Jokic, you have either Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr., depending on the night. But I think you have 3 solid guys, but now the Suns have it. You have Chris Paul, you have Devin Booker, you have Kevin Durant, who are also 3 really big names. So put those 2 teams in a 7-game series. I'd say I'd pay a lot of money if I could afford it. I actually tried to get tickets. As soon as the trade went down, I was like, hell yeah. Like, I need to get tickets right now before they go up because it's 11:30 at night. Maybe people are asleep. I go to SeatGeek. I get $28 tickets for when the Nuggets play the Suns in the regular season. 45 minutes later, I get an email saying, sorry, we couldn't process your order. You're getting a refund. The tickets promptly get reposted for $150. I am unfortunately not going to that game because the ticket prices went through the roof the next day. But I'm excited to watch at home. I'm very excited.
So it's going to bring a lot of great revenue for the Valley, just like the Phoenix Open and the not the Phoenix Open, the People's Open, rather, I should say. Ben had a great time there.
I did.
And Ben, just seeing Scotty Scheffler and them, what was that experience like? Just quickly on that.
As a huge golf fan that's played golf my entire life and played competitive golf for a long time, I know these names, right? These are people I've watched on my TV for a million years. To be inside the ropes for the final round, to be walking with the final group at a PGA Tour event yesterday was the best day of my life. It was the best day of my life. John Rahm, ASU alum, friend of the program as of last week. And then Scotty Scheffler, who, one of my best friends who lives in Texas has the same coach as him. So always root for Scotty as well. And these guys are so awesome. Watching these guys play is so much fun.
So I don't think we sent out a poll this week, Benjamin.
We did it, but here's the thing.
But here, I think we have our candidates.
Okay.
If I can come up with them on the spot.
Yeah.
Since this is Blaze Radio that we are hosting on, I think it's only right that we have the celebrities that did make Blaze Radio appearances this past week be nominated for Hymn of the Week. So we have probably the biggest one that made it on Blaze Radio was Pat McAfee.
That was so cool.
Made an appearance on Super Bowl Radio
so
Row.
Cool.
We have John Rahm, an appearance on Blaze Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And who else was on Blaze Radio this week that should be counted in? Should we count members of Blaze Radio who captured pictures with celebrities?
Nick Borgia wasn't on, wasn't even in.
That's true.
Yeah, so
I'm just making it sentimental to this. So
sure.
I'd say let's include Furtado and Seymour for being able to go this whole week on Radio Row.
Sure.
And lastly, who should we finish off for it?
I feel like in terms of meeting pure celebrities, Ethan Schwager's probably close to the top of that list.
That's true.
And Dylan Oliver. I nominate Dylan Oliver because we will hear in a special program later, which Blake will announce at the end of the show, we're going to break down Dylan Oliver's night at Super Bowl opening night. He might be. I vote Dylan for Hymn of the Week.
Well, perfect. So we got our poll together, but we're going to leave you on a cliffhanger, and you'll have to tune in to Bottom in the Six after hours from 11:30 to whenever we decide to go to bed. That's going to do it for the first part of Bottom of the Six. Make sure you tune in later, and you'll get Dylan, Ben, and me, Blake Neiman, and the crew. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all later.
Fight.